Hi, and welcome to The Lonely Triathlete. My name is Todd, and I am the Lonely Triathlete, coming to you live from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, on this Sunday, January the 7th. I think it's the 7th, 2024. Happy New Year, everybody. If you've not listened to my podcast before, my name is Todd, live in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I am a master's level. Sounds so proper. Master level. Age group triathlete. And I've been doing triathlons for over 20 years, almost coming up in 25 years. And here's the thing. I swim alone. I bike alone. I run alone. I do any kind of supplemental workouts alone. And I have all these thoughts. Cool things that I think about related to triathlon. Things that I think about just related to my own life. Things about the universe, things about quantum mechanics, things about things that I wish I didn't do, things I wish I did more of. I have all these things to share with other triathletes, really, because usually it's related to triathlon or health in some way. And I've got very few people in my life that care. So I'm turning to you to say, hey, maybe you care a little bit about these things that go on in my head. You know why? Because I bet a lot of these things go on in your head too. If not the same things, at least some things. So, which is why I reach out to you and say, hey, share with me the things that were going on in your head this week at my email address, thelonelytriathlete@gmail.com. So that's the purpose of the podcast and the reason why I'm here. As is my custom, once a month, I do this on YouTube. So if you're watching me on YouTube. If you're listening, then you're listening to me on my podcast. It doesn't matter. It's the same stuff. It's the same thing. But speaking of New Year's and resolutions, I was going to start off by saying I don't really make New Year's resolutions. I make resolutions all throughout the year. I decide to do a bit more of this, a bit less of that, try something new, see if it works, realize I'm not acting in a way which I want to act, so I double down on trying to act better, this, that, and the other thing. I don't really believe in, okay, starting on January 1, I'm going to do this new thing. But maybe I am saying that because it occurred to me that one thing I want to do with this podcast this year is try to be a bit more interactive with you, the listeners. Now, I do have a fair number of people that reach out to me via email, which is fantastic. It's actually quite, not normal, not common in podcasts to have too much interaction just because you're listening to me in your car right now, or you're listening to me while you work out. You're not by your computer. And I say, email me at thelonelytriathlete@gmail.com. And you go, oh, maybe I should send him a note about whatever he was talking about. But then you don't. It's all fine. It's all good. But now that I've got this channel on YouTube that I'm going to try to be using a bit more often, you can either email me or you can come to the YouTube channel and drop me a comment on a video. And I'll see that pop up in my email. So there's two ways that we can interact. And I'd love to interact more with you this year, if at all possible. Hey, and if it's just me sharing my thoughts with a silent audience, I'm happy to do that too. So let's get on with the show. I'll give you a training update, which I usually start the show off with. Today was the last day of my rest week, and it was so good. It came at the perfect time in my life. So what is a rest week for me? It's the same frequency of workouts, 6 days a week. It's almost the same duration of workouts. So yesterday did an hour and a half cycle, which is what I seem to be doing on Saturdays these days, but the intensity is way, way less. I'm not near vomiting in my VO2 max workouts. I'm not hating my life during these threshold workouts. I'm just doing endurance type workouts, which is such a relief for my lungs and my legs and my heart, my mind, my body, my soul. So it's been a really great week to just, dial back on the intensity and let a little few niggles here heal And then starting on Tuesday, I just briefly looked at my calendar through like my fingers because it was another brutal VO2 max workout. So yeah, it's going to start up again on Tuesday. But that's where I am training wise. Let's get back to the whole idea of resolutions. So again, I did not set New Year's resolutions, but a few weeks ago, let's call it a month ago, I did resolve to see if I could tone down any kind of snoring that I did. Now, I've never been a big snorer. I've never had anyone tell me that I was a big snorer, although from time to time I have woke myself up from snoring. So that tells you that I do it sometimes. And I think it's more when I catch myself sleeping on my back and the mouth drops open and you start to, snore. That's pretty typical. If I have a few too many beer one night, so on the weekends is when I limit my drinking, or I limit my drinking to the weekends. I should probably limit my drinking more on the weekends, but that's a whole other resolution. And I just talked about we don't do resolutions in this life. Anyway, so if I did a little extra drinking, I'll snore. I asked my partner of 9.5 years if I snored, and she says, not really, but sometimes. Now, I go on an annual bike trip I have for over 25 years, and I asked one of the fellows that I bunk with on this bike trip if I snore. He says, no, not only do you not snore, you don't move. Your body, when you fall asleep, and you fall asleep in 5 minutes, which is true, I'm a very good sleeper, fast to fall asleep, you just become paralyzed and you don't move and you don't make a noise all night. So yeah, I don't really have a snoring problem, but I know that I do sometimes. So what can I do? And my spouse really has a hard time sleeping. So even any noise I make during the night is not going to probably work out well for her. So I went and researched and found this product, which some of you have heard of, I'm pretty sure, and some of you have not heard of this. It's essentially mouth tape. And there are different brands, different price points. Don't believe the hype. It's just tape. And I've experimented a bit with off-label brands like 3M or like kinesiology type tape. And I found a company on Amazon. If you're interested, hit me up on Gmail or on the YouTube channel. Ask me in the comment section and I'll let you know what I got. I think I got a 30-day supply of this mouth tape for $15. Wasn't expensive. And it's cut in the shape of an oval. And it's flexible, it's stretchy, and it's soft, and it's strong. It does not come off your lips very easily. So warning, I actually ripped some of the skin off my lip the first time I used it. Only happened once. But there is that warning. But yeah, before I go to sleep, I paste this on my mouth or tape this on my mouth. And you cannot open your mouth during the night. Now, if you are desperate to, your body definitely could open through this stretchy kinesiology type tape. But by and large, you do not open your mouth through the night. So there is minimal snoring. You might snort through your nose a bit if you've got some issue but it practically eliminated any snoring that I might do. And from the research I did, not going to quote studies yet, but apparently there are some studies out there, breathing through your nose while you sleep, or even during the day, breathing through your nose is healthier than breathing through your mouth. So go figure, not only do I not make as much noise when I sleep, but I'm getting a healthier sleep while I sleep. So plus. So mouth tape, go figure. I tape my face shut before I go to bed at night. I never thought I'd ever do this, but I'm sleeping and I don't know. So what do I care? So that's one new thing that I've been doing this year. The second thing I resolved to do, again, not a New Year's resolution, just a regular kind of resolution. I resolved to use exercise bands, resistance bands, rubber bands during my workouts. So I do body weight dry land training workout for my swim. It's essentially a glorified version or a modified version or customized version, if you will, of body weight strength training, focusing on swim specific muscles. So I do a lot of core work, a lot of leg, like pretend like you're kicking in the water on your back kind of work. I do shoulder, chest, to upper back type of work. And I finish this body weight workout. It takes me half an hour. I finish this workout now with rubber bands around my ankles, and I'm standing and I'm extending my legs out sideways, keeping them straight, working, I think it's called the adductors. I never remember if it's adductor or abductor. I'll say adductor. It's the outside part of your hips. And I'm telling you, it feels like someone has poured gasoline on the side of my hips as I do these exercises. And I only do 2 sets on each side, and I'm done. I'm going to graduate to 3 soon, but my legs are burning when I use these exercise bands. And I think these bands cost like $5. I got them free. Thanks, Lena. But you can buy them on Amazon for, I think, $10, $12 for a set of different resistance levels. I'm using the easiest resistance level I think that they can make, and it still makes my hips burn like there's no tomorrow. So that's that. That's what I've been adding into my workout regime. So anti-snoring mouth tape and rubber resistance bands to give a little extra workout to my hips, which I think are a little bit weak. That's what I've been up to. I would love to hear from you all. If you want to drop me a line, again, thelonelytriathlete@gmail.com. If you want to come to the YouTube channel, I'll link it down in the show notes. Or you can just search for The Lonely Triathlete on YouTube, and you'll find me. What can I say? Oh, I'll give you a bit of a plug for next week. I've been intending to do this for a little bit, but I will definitely do it next week. I'm going to let you all know who my top 10 cities are for listeners. So on my podcast host, it shows me how many listens I get per week. It tells me the countries that they come from, the platforms they listen on, and the cities that people are in that they listen from. And, I think you'll be surprised. I think in some ways you won't be surprised, but in some ways you will be surprised at who is listening to this podcast. What other triathletes are listening along with you? So that's that. I want to say thank you for all the listeners last year. I hope I brought some levity to your life. I hope I, relieved 15 minutes of boredom. You certainly helped me vent and share the things that spin around my head and the things that I do training-wise, health-wise, nutrition-wise, that very few people in my life care about. And at least when I put my head on my pillow at night, I can say to myself, you know what? There's a bunch of people out in cyberspace that listen, and because they keep coming back, they must kind of relate to what I'm talking about. So I got that. I got my tribe of triathlon listeners, other lonely triathletes who are listening in to be maybe a little less lonely. So thanks for listening. I'll sign off now, and until next time, peace.